What did he do to make this house so evil?
Corruption is dishonest or illegal behavior, especially by powerful figures such as government officials or police officers. It can be a matter of concern for the law as well as personal ethics. Ethics is the philosophical study of moral principles that govern one's behavior, or the cornerstone of our moral character, describing the set of principles by which we abide. Ethics and law are not synonymous. Laws may be ethically ambiguous or even outright dismissive. For instance, civil asset forfeiture, which is a federal law that allows investigators to seize private property they have determined to be pertinent to an investigation. Make sure you stick with the channel because this is a topic that we will be examining very closely later this season. Each person adheres to their own brand of ethics, which creates varied opinions concerning what is considered acceptable and what is considered disgraceful. Some people identify with an established school of ethics, such as the teachings of Plato, Socrates, or Polybius. Polybian ethics is quite extreme, as it asserts that if money can be made from the act, then it is not disgraceful. It effectively justifies any behavior, but only if it creates profit. Do you think that any action can be justified if it creates a profit? Which school of ethics do you identify with? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. In some cases, people may adhere to a set of ethics prescribed by an establishment, such as the organization that they work for or their church. Organizations may or may not have a written ethical statement. Ethical expectations may be outlined in an employee handbook or other policy material, or it may be outlined within religious doctrine. For the most part, ethics describe our general contract to be honest, have integrity, and to act in good faith. However, our broad social contract does little to deter bad players from breaking it, even within our police ranks. Before moving on, I would like to know, where do your ethics derive from? Do they come from your culture, your family of origin, your upbringing, or do they stem from your religion? Do you have any ethics that are strict? Do you have any ethics that are a little more lenient? Describe your ethics down in the comments so that we may have a healthy discussion about our ethics. Ethicists assert that police corruption ranges from minor offenses to serious violations of the law, painting a broad spectrum of transgressions and concerns. Frank Schmalleger, author of Criminal Justice: A Brief Introduction, described the slippery slope perspective maintained by some professionals, stating that most police officers now explicitly prohibit even the acceptance of minor gratuities, such as a free cup of coffee. They believe that such strict policy prevents officers from being primed or conditioned to eventually accept larger gifts. How do you feel about this strict approach? Do you believe stringent policies like this make a difference in negating corruption? In 1973, the Knapp Commission published a 296-page report detailing the apparent and alleged incidents, prevalence, and causes of police corruption in New York City. The report findings were substantiated through the testimony of an undercover operative named Frank Serpicio, whose recounting of events and findings revealed what he called a complex web of corruption in which money and services routinely changed hands in protection rackets created by unethical leaders. I'm going to read for you the abstract provided on the DOJ website. It states, The greatest obstacle to anti-corruption efforts is a feeling of group loyalty in the police force, which generates hostility in response to attempts to expose corruption and a concomitant code of silence. Essentially, this abstract alleges that the prevalence of corruption was pervasive, that police ranks were bound by a chain of silence which kept them from exposing one another. Imagine you are a rookie cop on the scene of a substance bust. As you are bagging evidence, your partner locates a substantial stack of cash, valued at about $12,000. Your partner and the two additional officers who arrived as backup decide that the cash will be divided 4 ways for each of you to pocket instead of submitting it to evidence. What is your next move? Do you go along with it because the officers are veterans and you feel uncomfortable rocking the boat? Do you make a report with your supervisor as soon as you get back to the office? Do you refuse to take the cash and encourage the others to do the same? Let's discuss what we think we would do in this situation. While I understand that it's difficult to predict how you would behave in this type of situation, I think most people still can relate to a situation similar like this, where you felt that the peer pressure to do something that went against your morals and your convictions was difficult to overcome. The Knapp Commission report is not the only source to substantiate evidence of police corruption. Thomas Barker and David L. Carter closely studied police corruption and co-wrote a book called Police Deviance, which revealed occupational deviance within the police ranks. The pair described the phenomenon as motivated by the desire for personal benefit and abuse of authority, which occurs most often to further the organizational goals of law enforcement, including arrests, ticketing, and successful conviction of suspects. FBI Special Agent Frank Perry and former chief of the FBI's Ethics Unit described the difference between police deviance and police corruption, stating that deviance consists of unprofessional on and off duty misconduct, isolated instances of misuse of position, improper relationships with informants or criminals, SA, disparaging racial remarks, or gender comments, embellished or falsified reporting, time and attendance misuse, insubordination, nepotism, cronyism, and non-criminal unauthorized disclosures of information. Perry further warned that deviance may eventually lead to all-out corruption, especially in cases where supervisors and internal affair units fail to alert to and intervene with warning signs that indicate deviant patterns of behavior. Getting my hands on a copy of the Knapp Commission report was a difficult task. I spent several months trying to obtain an authentic copy of it. It pretty much comes in book form, and interestingly, when you visit the DOJ website, the abstract and publishing information for this report are provided, but the document itself is unavailable. Do you think it is important that this document is made accessible to the public? I certainly believe this document is of great importance to everyone. I think that if more people knew the truth about police corruption, then they might feel compelled to instigate reform within our criminal justice system. Some believe the laws that protect police officers, lawmakers, judges, DAs, that these laws could stand reevaluation and reform, and I certainly do agree with that. What do you think about the level of immunity given to most government workers? I can think of a few times off the top of my head that judges have failed children by allowing them to be around unsafe parents or unsafe family members, and those judges never seem to have any accountability for these rulings and for allowing these children to be around unsafe people. Let me know how you feel about the information provided in this episode of State of Scrutiny. Do you think another undercover investigation of police deviance would be beneficial? Also, I'm interested to know, do you think the results would be more positive than in 1973, or do you think the results would be more negative? Do you think that we have more police corruption today than in 1973, or do you think that we have less? Of course, the Knapp Commission report is several decades old, and I don't know about you, but I am curious to know, are we better off today or are we worse off? Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to like and share, comment your thoughts below, and let's have a healthy discussion about this topic. I'm looking forward to some of your new perspectives on this topic and learning about your personal ethics. In the meantime, you can tune in to State of Scrutiny on Saturdays for new episodes.